Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with bacon and asparagus Dutch baby. That's right, this puffy baked pancake is just not for breakfast anymore. Although heavy said that, this would make a spectacular breakfast, especially with a fried or poached egg on top. In fact, if Father's Day brunch was a thing, this could be perfect. I mean, I think your dad would love this so much, he'll probably even forget you got him another tie for a gift. But anyway, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, because before we worry about how and when to serve this, we need to show you how to put this together. So let's go ahead and get started with our batter, and that will begin with 3 large eggs. And then to that we will add some whole milk, or 2% or skim, really doesn't matter here. We also want to toss in some finely and freshly grated Parmesan. Of course, the real stuff from Italy. I mean, seriously, what kind of crazy person is using the fake stuff with the sawdust in it? So we will add a little bit of real cheese, please. And then, of course, we have to season this up with some kosher salt, a little bit or a lot of cayenne, as well as some freshly ground black pepper. And then I thought this would be very nice with a little touch of lemon flavor, but I didn't want the acidity. So what we'll do is we'll just grate in some lemon zest, which will give us that lemoniness we want without having to add the juice. And then last but not least, we need some flour, so we'll dump that in. And that is going to be it for our batter ingredients. So we'll take a whisk and we'll give this a mix. And by the way, generally when we make batters like this, we include some type of fat, like shortening or oil or melted butter or something like that. But with this we don't, because we're going to have plenty of fat in the pan when we add this to our bacon and asparagus. So just in case you were wondering, where the heck's the fat? Well, we're going to have plenty. So we will give that a thoughtful and thorough mixing until everything's completely combined. And if you think you're seeing tiny little lumps, you're not. That's just pieces of cheese. But anyway, once that's mixed up, we'll simply set it aside and move on to the asparagus. And what we want to do here is take our fresh raw spears, and starting with the tip end, we're going to slice across like this into roughly, 1/4-inch pieces, all the way down to the bottom. Well, maybe down to the bottom. If it gets a little tough or woody when you get to the end, don't use that piece. So you should be able to feel with a knife if it's tender or not. So of course we will discard anything we think is inedible. And by the way, the great thing about cutting asparagus like this is that if you overcook it or undercook it a little, nobody will notice. Because we've cut these in such short lengths, we've taken the fibers out of play. And once that's set, we can head over to the stove to start our bacon. So I'm going to slice up about 6 strips of bacon and add it to this heavy-duty cast iron pan set over medium heat. And I did add a couple teaspoons of olive oil to this pan first to get things started. Because as you'll see, for this technique to work, we do need a good amount of fat in the pan. And what we want to do is cook this bacon until pretty much all the fat's rendered out and it starts to get crisp. And by the way, you really do need one of these cast iron pans for this technique to work perfectly. But if you don't, I will give you one alternative on the blog post. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and cook our bacon. And once it's looking something similar to this, we'll go ahead and dump in our asparagus. And also raise our heat to the highest setting. And we'll give that a little stir. And we only want to cook this about a minute. And I realize it looks like we have 2 or 3 tablespoons of extra fat we don't need, but we do. Remember, there's no fat in the batter. Okay, so you can blot out some of that if you want. But we really do need 3 or 4 tablespoons for this technique to work properly. And then once our asparagus is cooked for about a minute on the highest heat we have, we can go ahead and pour in our batter, but not all in one spot. So I like to pour mine in like this, in kind of a circular motion. And then as soon as that batter's been introduced, we don't want to stir it. We just want to quickly and carefully transfer that into the center of our preheated 475-degree oven for about 12 minutes or so, or until puffed and beautifully browned. And if everything's gone according to plan, it should look something like this. Check it out. And while no one's exactly sure how this got its name, when you set something that looks like that down in the middle of a table, you will often hear people say, "Oh, baby." Now, fair warning, this will deflate as soon as it comes out of the oven. So if you're trying to impress people visually, make sure this goes straight from the oven to the table. See, this is only like 2 minutes later, and it's pretty much settled down, but still looking incredibly enticing. And this really isn't something we need to let rest a long time, because by the time you cut and plate this, it's going to be perfectly ready to eat. So we will cut a nice wedge and serve that up. And that's it, our bacon asparagus Dutch baby is ready to enjoy. And if you've never had one of these before, they're not that easy to describe. I guess I would say it's like a cross between a pancake and an omelet. A love child, if you will. Because it kind of has the characteristics of both. And I really do love that contrast between the soft custardy parts and those crusty edges studded with crispy bacon. That's just a beautiful combination. And while I really do love bacon and asparagus for this, there are so many other combinations that would work. We could do a pancetta and zucchini Dutch baby, or a sausage and potato Dutch baby, or well, you get the idea. So feel free to experiment and use what you want. I mean, you are the baby daddy. And not only is this fast and versatile, it pretty much will work for any meal. Breakfast, brunch, lunch, dinner, as well as, and I've heard this from a friend, makes for a great midnight snack. So I really do hope you give this savory Dutch baby a try soon. Head over to foodwishes.com for all the ingredient amounts and more info as usual. And as always, enjoy